Hey everyone, welcome to Own Your Story. Today I have Amy Ng with here. So Amy Ng is the founder of Pikaland. So before we start, a little bit of fun fact about Amy. So I found out that Amy was mentioned in a TED Talk by Emily Wapnick called Why Some of Us Don't Have One True Calling in Life. So Amy was featured there, and Amy was called a multipotentialite. So it's basically someone with a lot of interest and passion in life. So how Amy was introduced in that TED Talk is that she's a magazine editor turned illustrator, entrepreneur, teacher, a creative director. So Amy, we will start with 2 minutes of commercial for yourself. Can you tell us a bit about you? How would you introduce your work to people?
I think the hardest part about introducing myself to people is that it's very hard to put into words what I do, because I do a lot of things. So the short story is that I am a teacher who is also a writer, and I can draw, and I have a love of teaching. And so we basically start with that. I have a blog that I've been running for over 10 years now.
So that's why I noticed about you when I first heard about Pikaland. So I checked out your blog, and there is this really interesting and very beautifully written article that I feel resonate with. So it's called what captured me is about purposeful digging. So there's one line that you wrote. You say, as I step back, I see a vast labyrinth of underground tunnels, pathways, and passages. It looks like a map, one that I continuously building as I put one feet in front of another. I really resonate with that, because that was how my journey was like as well. I started with a point where I wanted to get to, and then along the way, I started as a professional industry as auditor, and then I go to coffee industry. After coffee industry, it's in creative industry. So I really resonate with what you say. It's about putting one foot in front of another, and at this point when we look back, it's suddenly we can see a map. But we travel the journey without a map. So when you write that, what's your inspiration?
I guess because a lot of my work deals with finding out the reasons why people do things. It's not about how they do it, not about the techniques or whatever it is that they're doing as an output of whatever it is, but it's always about what's the impetus behind what it is that they want to do and what they want to say. And that was from the couple Ichinori, from the Illustrations Art Fest in Singapore. So they were talking about how they still continue to experiment and still trying to find new ways of working and things like that. So I think it was really, really beautiful. And for everybody, I think they're just still putting their one feet in front of another, trying to figure out what it is that they're trying to do.
So in the past 10 years, how has your passion and your purpose evolved?
It's still evolving. After 10 years, the blog has always been a personal project in terms of studying about illustration and entrepreneurship. So even from the very beginning, I was very interested to know how the processes of other artists are like, and what they're inspired by, and how is it that they translate their ideas into something that's tangible. And as I went forward, the questions have now become more of what kind of patterns do you see between their work and their processes. And then as I go further along now, it's more about intent. And how do you bring that out across in your work?
So can I say that the motivation behind the blog is all about your curiosity and your just the intention to learn more?
Definitely. It's always been a self-professed learning. I always say it's a 10-year journey without a certificate at the end.
I find it very interesting and very inspiring that you do all this without trying to make a name, because you already have that a big following. Because on Pikaland, Amy has 26K of followers, and she's still very grounded and low profile, when she can use that to build something else, maybe be more out there and be louder, but she's not.
I think it's because it's very organic. I've never thought that whatever I want to post is for myself.
Mm.
It was never about other people.
Right.
It's more about them following me as I start to learn different things. So it's never something that I manufacture for other people.
Right. So it's all from the heart.
Correct.
Honest.
Correct. And it's always about, hey, I'm learning this, and you're reading it, and therefore, that's where we have that relationship.
All right. So I would like to know, like, is there a book that has impacted you the most, or like that you give to people the most?
I don't give books to people because I don't know what they like.
Yeah.
And I draw a lot of inspiration from many different books, so there's not one particular book that stands out. I read business books and fiction, not enough. But, I don't give books as gifts except for children's books.
All right, but in terms of inspiration, is there one book that has impacted you the most?
I like books by Malcolm Gladwell.
All right.
Because I admire how he is able to connect different ideas and thoughts, and then unearthing many different things that would lead to different endings or something that people wouldn't have thought about before. He really just dig into a lot of things.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah.
Is any particular book?
Oh, he has a lot. There's
The
Tipping Point. There's David and Goliath. There's I forgot what the other one is, but Blink. Yeah.
All right.
And now he has a podcast called Revisionist History, which I'm also enjoying. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So before we dive into like more serious questions, I'll ask like, what is is there any unusual habit or quirky things that you like?
I don't know. I don't need alcohol to get crazy. I don't drink.
All right. As an artist, because most artists have their own personal style in terms of creation.
Yeah.
Do you have any particular habits that helps you in creation?
As far as artists go, I think I'm one of the more boring ones. I just need to be well fed, and I'll be happy.
All right, that's very easy. And okay, and then we will come to, all right, these questions. Is there any one best or worthwhile investment that you have made in like the past year?
I think it's Pikaland.
Pikaland.
Yeah.
All right.
Because it was something that was, I don't know, it was just something that I was compelled to do.
Yeah.
It was not about money. It was just about curiosity. I didn't know where it would lead.
All right.
And to hear someone having a project that's 10 years in the making must be crazy now. Because I don't see a lot of people continuing what they're doing for past 10, beyond 5 years, for example.
Yeah. I find it really amazing that you do it for so long. So throughout these 10 years,
so old.
Yeah. So throughout these 10 years, what are the best, your proudest moment, or like the best rewards that you get from Pikaland?
I think it's the ability to connect and talk to many different artists and people from around the world, and just basically seeing if I'm able to help in some way, shape, or form. I think that's very rewarding.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'm sure like throughout, I'm just saying like throughout the journey, 10 years, it shouldn't be easy.
No.
There must be moments like when you feel like doubt, whether should I continue it?
Right.
Do you have moments like that?
See, that's the thing. That's a very, very good question. Doubt always comes in, but it was never something to the sense of, I'm going to stop doing whatever I'm doing.
Right.
Because it has always been a process. It's never been a particular endpoint for that.
Right.
It was always about this for me. So doubt comes in.
Yeah. How do you overcome that?
You keep working.
Keep working.
You don't think about the doubt. You think about what you're doing that's not good enough and how you can fix it. And you can only do that when you're measuring yourself. If you don't have any metrics that you put yourself against, then you're basically not measuring, therefore you cannot improve.
All right. So you do have like a set of matrix for yourself, like
you continuously ask yourself whether are you happy, Are you contributing the way that you should?
I ask myself that.
Yeah, you should be contributing.
Yeah.
Are you making a difference?
Mm-hmm.
And do you have something to say? If
Alright.
you don't have any more things to say, then you basically should
Alright.
stop.
So it's basically being self-aware.
Oh, yeah.
All the time checking in with ourselves.
Not all the time, I think there's a danger of being too
Right.
me-centric.
Right.
So what I do is always you do the work, but at some time you step back and you ask yourself, okay, is this good? Okay, let's check in once in a while.
Right.
Yeah, but it doesn't stop. You just stop for a little bit, then you just continue. Because to stop at the halfway, it just means that you haven't given it the best that you could, and somehow it will truncate your growth.
Yeah. I recently realized that like being able to stop is so important because like after launching the book, I was like caught in the flux of finding out what's next.
Right.
And then I went to a silent meditation, and then it was there I found space.
Yeah.
So when you say stop, what do you do? Like, is there anything like, do you travel, or you just like shift your focus to do other things? How to find that space?
I get a habit of going to events that are based around my industry, which is illustration and art and design. There's also storytelling and animation. So every year I make a point to visit or go to conferences to update myself and to see what's out there. So it's always refreshing, and you always come back with fresh new eyes and seeing things done a different way.
Right.
So whenever I step back, it's never fully stepping away because I love what I do, and that kind of bleeds into my personal life as well. Yeah.
Okay. So far, is there any failure that you have undergo that you go through that set you up for more success, or is there any particular failure that is very like fundamental to your growth?
I think that failures are what makes things so interesting, and that failure is never something that's set in stone.
Yeah.
So what I feel that failure is just a stepping stone for you to become better. So I don't see the stuff that I've done as failures. I have a lot of failures, but somehow my mind has blocked them out.
Yeah.
And somehow transformed it into something.
Can you give us an example of how a failure changed or transformed you?
Okay, maybe before Pikaland, I coded up a website where I sold fabrics from Japan.
Right.
As an e-commerce platform.
Wow.
So
that's impressive. Like back then it was 2008.
Yes,
before.
2008, 2007, 2008.
Wow.
So that was the time before. So that was done with Zencard. The hideous little platform ever, but I managed to hack it. And everything was running up and running, and people loved it. I sold stuff, and when I was packing after the first month for shipping the things out, I realized I hated this. I hated everything about it. And what I really liked was that the illustrations on the fabric itself, not about the fabric. So then I was burnt out because I was coding non-stop for 3 months. So I stopped and I quit. And then I started Pikaland. So people would ask me, why did you stop? It was so successful. What you did was, it was rare at the time, and you stopped. And I said it was okay because I found the thing that I was meant to do because of it. So it was not a failure. It was, to my eyes anyway.
It's just, I have this quote called you win or you learn, you never stop. You never fail until you stop trying.
Oh, you're dead, basically.
I can relate to that as well, because when I was in coffee industry, when I quit, right, I feel almost like a failure. But the thing is, I also find that it's not something that I want. It comes from that realization that, like, even within the coffee industry, I like about people connection and not like really coffee itself. So I was in coffee industry, I should be happy, but I wasn't. So it takes some time to do the digging, like internet digging, to find out like what really matters to us, and not like tied to what we perceive others see us.
Very important.
And then when I do that, also like a bit of ego that I need to deal with, because people see me as like a coffee person, then suddenly I'm not. So
life is too short to live on what other people think that you should be. So
Yeah. So like in the say past 5 years, is there any new habits or new belief that has helped you to become who you are today?
Another good question. I think for the past 5 years, I've gone through some personal stuff. So I think that has allowed me to become stronger. And
Always. Yeah.
always. I think that just because I don't talk about it doesn't mean it didn't happen. And not everybody needs to know what happens in my life. And just because I have a public platform, dealing with things personally has allowed me to also compartmentalize the things that I feel are not anybody else's problems. So yeah.
All right. So that's the belief. In your belief.
Yeah, professionalism.
All right.
I believe in professionalism.
Okay, cool. So you are lecturing in the one academy, right? So what advice would you give a student who is like going into a real life? And most importantly, what advice should these students ignore?
Oh, okay. Let's start off with what they should do. Okay. When you go out to the real world, actually they are in the real world itself, but let's put that aside. I think they should also be mindful of how they communicate with other people, because social media and how they reach people is very much different from how we did before. I think they have to be mindful and also to be respectful of the people that they have to answer to, and to be open and flexible to the idea that communication is a two-way street, in that sometimes people don't communicate the way they are used to communicate. So what I meant was that short form messaging, Facebook text and Twitter DMs and stuff like that, those are all okay, but that's not the only form of communication that they should know of. Emails, phones, I think manners are so important.
All right, the basic manners.
The basic stuff. It seems like it's very, you can toss it aside, but that will open so many doors that you won't even, you don't know.
I guess it's like the part of the technology.
It is
the side effect of technology that we have, that we enjoy today.
It desensitizes you somewhat, I think. It's not a bad thing. I know it's the way that the world works right now, but I also feel that we're not animals.
Yeah. Obviously.
So it's nice to just have a little, kindness and formality sometimes.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And what should they ignore? They should ignore themselves.
I like that. I really like that.
They should just ignore themselves a little bit more, and just try to be more present, I think.
My goodness. This is what I really believe in as well. Ignore yourself, meaning letting go of your ego, because sometimes we do a lot of things. If we are really mindful of our decision, how we make decisions, our thought process, a lot of things, a lot of our thoughts are influenced by how people see us instead of what we really want inside.
Correct. They kind of blur your intentions, and you start to doubt yourself a lot. Because you don't know whether is that what I want or is that what I think I want, because other people say that it's what I want. You need a quiet space.
So that's why silence, the quiet place. Silence is very important, because it is in silence that we can really face our inner self, have a conversation with our inner self, like the self that is the most pure, like the 6-year-old. Like when we are 6, we never think about what passion is, right? But we just go ahead.
On the converse, on the flip side, I think that they should also talk to more people. But when they talk to more people, it's about getting to know the other person instead of talking about themselves.
Perspective. Getting more perspective. It's like your personal mentor, like a board of director kind of thing.
Right. Less formal, but you know what I mean.
Okay. So in terms of in creative industry, right? Do you hear can you point out any bad recommendations that is given by other people? Because creative industry is always a myth, especially for me and like my peers, because we come from a professional industry. We are trained to think logically, and then in terms of creative industry, and people have this perception that you cannot make a living like doing art.
Right.
What do you say?
I think I'll address the first one first. First one was about what
the bad recommendations
bad advice and
given
recommendations
by other people.
I don't think there's any particular bad advice. It's a lot of advice are autobiographical. So in that, it's very rooted in their experiences and what has worked for them and what has not worked for them. The onus is on the person who's listening to actually just filter out what applies and what doesn't apply. Doesn't mean that the advices are not valid. It is very valid to that person in that situation for that point of time.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that it's the same thing going forward. So it's right for them, but doesn't mean that it's correct for the other person.
Right.
Yeah. The second question is about
the myth of making a creative industry.
I think that it's a myth because there are ways to go about in the creative industry that people don't think about. For example, there's offshoots to it. It doesn't mean that your output has to be a certain way that only people who understand it are able to enjoy it and therefore give you money for it. You could also deal with other soft skills like teaching, speaking, apart from creation.
Right.
Yeah. So there's a lot of other ways that you can, for lack of a better word, monetize your creative interest.
Right. So it's about being creative in terms of creativity.
It's being creative because it's something that drives you forward.
Yeah.
Not because you feel like you should make money from it. It's not a bad thing to want to make money from your work. It's the matter of whether your work is able to impact the audiences that you want it.
Right. So the intent comes first and impact.
Correct.
Yeah. I always feel that if we can relate with people, like the thing that we want will come, because you have to reach out first before you get.
Correct. And it's more like finding out the right outlets where you are able to do the things that you want to do.
All right.
Yeah, because if it doesn't work out, it's probably either the audience is wrong or there's no market for it yet. Or you need to find a different market altogether, or somehow tweak a little bit, pivot a little bit, and see what then fits. Yeah.
All right, I see. Since you're a multi-potentialite, who has gone through so many different things, and you can do a lot. Yeah. So, in the last 5 years, like, how do you learn what to say no to? How do you learn to filter like the opportunities? I believe that not everything works for you, like as a creator.
Yeah, putting my foot down is a skill that I've learned. So saying yes is very Asian. It's so Asian. And if you don't say yes, the other thing is you ignore the person, which is also bad luck. You know, to learn how to say no, it would mean taking care of yourself first. I'm open to possibilities. I'm always saying yes to opportunities that would have not probably given me anything. But sometimes that little thing I said yes to 5 years ago would come back, and then it would really surprise me how things turn out. I really like that, although that's not the main goal. It's more like being open to different experiences. Know when it is a waste of my time, a waste of my energy, and that I don't think that it benefits the person who is requesting the help.
All right.
Yeah, so that's how I assess it.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you like repeat like the thought process in terms of filtering decision, like what to say yes to, and what to say no to?
For the no, it's more like whether it benefits me. Well, it's not whether it benefits me. I benefit, even if that thing doesn't benefit. I still benefit. It's more like, is it a waste of my time, my resources, or would it not give anything back to the person who is asking me the question to say yes to, you know? So that's a consideration that I have to give, because sometimes we only have 24 hours in a day, 12 at least when you're not sleeping. So how we use that time is also very important.
All right.
Yeah, it's also respecting ourselves and respecting other people. Because if we say yes to something that we don't mean it's a waste of their time.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I realize that's very important, because sometimes, being Asian, I do say no to things, and then that I regret. I was like, why do I do this to myself?
I think especially to women as well, because women are they always think that women will say yes to a lot of things, and they would be surprised when I go to say no, and I don't have to give a reason why I say no. You know, and it's okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So you have created a lot of things. You have your own magazines, you have your own course,
Yes.
and then your own writings. So far, among all these creations, what are your proudest or your favorite? Do you have one?
No. Wait. I have this course called Work Art Play.
Yeah.
And that basically came about after I taught students at the One Academy about creative entrepreneurship. It's a very different course from what I've heard other people review it, and they said that it was so easy to understand and things like that because it felt like I was talking to them directly, and I think that was one of my proudest. One of the things that I'm very proud of.
All right. So this course, what was the learning outcome?
The learning outcome. Well, I covered too many things in that one course, so I had to break it up into two. But the learning outcome would be
Like the gist of it.
The gist of it is more about finding your purpose and your intent and your story, and then how do you translate it into something that you're able to then market to people, and then be able to do the work that you want to do. Because a lot of illustrators are doing work for other people. They're like a hired hand. So when it comes to them taking a step back and then asking themselves, what do I want to do? They're stuck because they've been busy doing work for other people. They don't ever question what it is that they want. So that course is helping them to ask what is it that they want to do. And then through that output, they're able to come up with the style and thinking process that they're very happy about so that they can replicate it and then use the style moving forward.
I see.
And then getting known for how they do things.
In terms of getting to know what you want to do, what I want to do, any tips to help people to find that?
I ask this question to students as well.
Yeah.
It always goes back to what do they feel very passionately about. So whether it's something that they feel very angry about or something that they feel really happy about or something that they feel they want to change.
Right. So it's emotion.
Emotions, yes, and also about how you transfer that emotion to the work that you want to do.
I see. Yeah. All right. So it starts with something you feel strongly towards, and then that emotion will drive you to make a change.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. So that change is either through your work or through what you want to do moving forward. So I always tell people that you should tap into not just talking about things, but rather changing that energy into something that is tangible that other people can get in on and hopefully help society as well. Yeah.
What's the change that you want to make in this world?
I want people to be kinder. I think kinder to everybody. It's a tall order,
It's through your work that you want to spread that message, kinder.
When you ask this question, I ask myself, how is it that I am trying to be kind? I like to listen, and then I suppose that's why I teach.
Right.
I could continue to just teach online, but I think it wouldn't be fair to Malaysians if I'm not here. If I'm not part of the solution, then I am part of the problem.
Right.
So it's when I teach, I learn. Yeah, when I teach, I learn a lot as well about myself, and then I learn so much from the students that it makes me very humble. That you continually learn different things, and I think teaching is one of the best way to do it. That you're opening up different channels of learning about yourself and helping other people along the way, hopefully.
Yeah, that's very beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, impacting the world to be kinder through your work. Yeah, because I'm in my mind when you say kinder, I'm relating to what I read from your blog, the illustration that I see. Yeah, it's beautiful. I love your words.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Especially the article Purposeful Reading. When I read it, I was like it's so relatable. It's so speak to my heart. That's really beautiful. So we come to our last questions.
Okay.
All right. Let's say today is your last day in this world. Tomorrow you'll be transported to another planet.
Right.
What are the 3 truths that you will leave behind for humankind, mankind?
Oh, wow.
The 3 truths of your life that is valuable, that you think is valuable.
Nobody knows what they're doing. really nobody knows what they're doing.
Nobody knows what they're doing. That's true.
And number 2, please spay your dogs and cats. I think it's very, very important. It's a reminder to people. It's obvious to me, but not obvious to all. But and what? It's so serious all the time.
It's my constant reminder as well. Like when I get stressed, have fun with life. It's so short. We think we are going to live like our life is long. We always think that it's long.
Right, and be kind to people. I think with everything that's been happening politically now, I think people forget that the change really happens with us.
Yeah,
it
starts with this.
It starts with us because we can be kinder to people. We can be more open about things. We can show other people what it means to be the person or the society that you want it to be. And I remind myself that every time that I step outside and I deal with people, different races, things like that, I am a billboard for example, my race or the people that I represent. It's you having you have a duty,
right,
to be kind and to show people this society that I want, and
basically be the change that you want to see.
Exactly, and it's not just through political stuff. It's just really being you.
Every moment, like I do agree that our spirit, like how we carry ourselves, has an impact in people's lives.
Of course.
And
be mindful of things. That's it.
All right. So if our listeners want to find out about your work, where can they find you?
Oh gosh, you can go to my website at www.pikaland.com. That's pikaland.com. And my word, it's nothing about Pikachu, obviously, because people will find the reference, but Pika means bright things in Japanese. So it's basically this place where I collect all the things that makes me happy. That's where the name comes from. I just want to put it out there.
Yeah, okay. You guys can also check out the Facebook. It's Pikaland as well.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right. I think that's the end of our conversation. Thank you so much for being with us. Thanks for your time. So if you guys have any question, you can type your comment down the box, or you can connect with Amy and ask her directly. All right. Thank you guys for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.